From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I am Adeshewa Josh. Our top stories tonight. JAMB moves to review results of UTME exams after widespread protest by parents and stakeholders over mass failure. President Tinubu swears in INEC National Commissioners as electoral body proposes 142 amendments. And British Prime Minister vows to take back control of the country's borders as he unveils tougher measures to reduce immigration.
In business, Debt Management Office opens 300 billion naira sukuk bond to fund infrastructure projects.
And in sports, Nigeria's under-20 men's football team dethroned reigning champion Senegal to qualify for FIFA World Cup in Chile. Details in a bit.
Welcome, everyone. Tonight begins right now. We begin tonight with the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board's call for a comprehensive review of the recently released Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results, which had nearly 80% of the candidates score below the 200 points minimum requirement to pass the exams. This comes after a wave of public complaints alleging technical glitches, incomplete questions, and unusually low scores trailed the release of the UTME results. According to a statement by JAMB spokesperson Fabian Benjamin, the board is expediting its annual system review, a thorough post-examination analysis to identify potential technical glitches and implement corrective measures if necessary. JAMB expressed particular concern over unusual complaints emanating from specific states within the federation, which are being addressed. Meanwhile, a potential legal storm is brewing over the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination as thousands of candidates prepare to challenge the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board in court. The controversy stems from allegations of technical glitches and incomplete questions during the exam, which candidates claim compromised their performance. The exam's results released recently showed a staggering 1.5 million out of 1.9 million candidates scoring below 200 out of 400 mark. While the Minister of Education attributed the high failure rate to effective anti-malpractice measures, many candidates and stakeholders beg to differ. An education advocate, Alex Onya, has taken up the cudgels for the aggrieved students, announcing plans to file a lawsuit at the Federal High Court. With over 8,000 students having submitted formal complaints, Onya is demanding transparency in the marking process and seeking to have candidates verify their scores. For more on this story, I'm now being joined by Professor Yomi Faweimi, an academician and policy analyst. He joins me from Ontario, Canada. Thank you so much for coming on the show. What led to the widespread outcry among parents and stakeholders, prompting the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board to initiate a comprehensive review of the UTME results?
Thanks for having me. A couple of things were responsible. I mean, people have, over the years, not been having very good grades from the UTME examinations. But one of the peculiarities of this year was the level of complaints that came early enough while the exam were going on. There were complaints around the timing. There were issues around those that had to start very early, earlier than they expected. JAMB tried to play an interesting game, claiming that their first exam is 8 o'clock, but their letter of invitation to these young kids were for 6 a.m. So there were issues around that. There were also issues around the technical equipment used for this exam. So there were students that claimed there were glitches, they were shut down where they were going on. There were those that even went to some centers and they couldn't write at the right time. There were issues around those that claimed that their biometrics could not be ascertained for various reasons. And then there were issues around missing questions. So there were students who, for example, on particular days of writing their exams claimed, so in particularly English, that there were some missing subjects. I also had feedback from some students who wrote physics, claiming that there was a reference to a diagram that was not there. So there were also complaints about the questions itself. So there were complaints around logistics. And the logistics are one, timing. Also, the questions of location. There were those that came up with allegations that were posted outside of where they wrote their jam. If I had a particular case of somebody that registered in Ondo Town, did a mock exam in Ondo Town, but was sent to the Riverine area of Ondo State to write the exams. Right. And the parent had to follow this young lady, and they had to stay in a hotel and pay money to do that.
Professor,
so there were those logistics issues, and then the issues about technology, and then the third one, the issue related to the question, missing questions, missing diagrams, and things like that.
Are these complaints unusual?
I think we've always had complaints about JAM, but I think what happened this year was the fact that the number of people that were affected were quite a lot. Also, not only were the number of people affected quite a lot, there was also a lot of people who had great grades in previous years that did not have the good grades. Now, I mean, there was a case of a particular student who had written JAM twice and has scored well over 260. In fact, in a particular case, this particular candidate scored over 300, and in this exam was scoring 140 or 150 or something like that. So those use cases particularly made people start to wonder. And, you know, one of the dimensions of checking the validity of an exam is there's some element of consistency. I mean, so it's expected that a well-written test should provide the same results to the same students within a fixed period of time. So a child should not be getting 260, 270, 305, 304, and suddenly jumps and start to get 140 or 150.
I want us to run
Anybody who speaks that report will ask questions.
I want us to run through the statistics together. It turns out that this year's UTME results isn't even the worst in the last 5 years. I mean, 2020 recorded 85.89% failure, which was blamed on COVID disruptions. 2021 recorded 85%. 2022 recorded about 79%, which was also blamed on COVID. Then 2023, we began to see a bit of decline, 79%. Last year, 73%. And then it went up again this year, is 78.5% failure. Why do you think the candidates are rejecting the result this time around, seeing that it's not the worst in the last 5 years, actually?
Of course, just for the sake of using the right term, you don't fail JAM. There's no pass or fail mark in JAM. That's why the word used is either cutoff mark or minimum acceptable mark. So there's no failure in JAM. It's not like WAEC that has an F9, that has a fail grade, that has a pass grade. JAM, remember, we must always remember, JAM is a ranking exam. JAM is not a competency examination exam. The whole purpose of JAM is to rank people that want to go to our higher institutions. So it's like you want to know who is first, who is second, who is third, who is fourth. So there's nobody that failed or passed JAM. You don't fail or pass JAM. Now, why is there a lot of, you see, one thing we should be careful of is when the JAM registrar came and said the results is consistent with the same with that. But I always ask that question. So what does that really say? Yeah, people have always been having malaria. Should we not cure malaria because people have been having malaria? We have had people die of road accidents. Should we not therefore reduce the death on road accidents? We have been having high children mortality. Should we now say, oh, because a child died, we now say, oh, okay, that's the rate we have been having? I mean, progress in life is about we making sure things become better, quicker, faster, more efficient, and lives become better. We cannot justify failure by saying that's the trend. Right. We cannot also justify anything that is not expected or anything that is not good. Right. And say that it's because of that. One question we need to ask ourselves is that JAM's motivation for writing these exams needs to really be questioned. Because if you are telling people that we have done this exam for the last X number of years, therefore, if people have been getting these relatively low marks, we're okay with it because that's what the JAM registrar definitely say. It's also important for us to question what the JAM registrar said because data doesn't lie. So think about this. Before this man became the JAM registrar, if you do 10 years back, it was a better performance than from when he became registrar till now. Of course, if you take away all the effects of COVID, you realize that it's not as if people have been consistently having this low. This consistency is in the very recent past, except for 2 years that were outlier years. So when it says it's consistent with 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, I struggle with that defense and assuming that it is consistent. Life does not develop because we want to consistently have poor performance. it's time for us to ask questions. What is leading to this poor performance, and what should we do about it?
Right. What do you also make of his statement, that's the Minister of Education, saying that the results, the mass failure that we have seen in the last 5 years, and perhaps the one this year, is attributed to tighter security by the board? What does that even mean?
I personally feel that statement to be very unfortunate. You will expect that the Minister for Education will be clear to be concerned about the level of education. I remember when he made the statement, he said by saying we are concerned, and he went on and said it's because that. So his argument or his point is that Nigerian students don't pass except they're allowed to cheat. Unfortunately, he completely made things worse by saying that because JAMB was not allowing students to cheat, but WAEC and NECO were allowing students to cheat, that's why they passed. I really felt that statement was too definitive, because the argument there is that our students can only pass when they cheat. And that's not a fair statement to make about the almost 2 million people that write these exams every year. That's also not a fair statement to make about WAEC. Remember, it's the same WAEC that this man said he cannot verify whether people pass or not. It's the same WAEC that Nigerian students used to come to school in Canada and to come to school in America and to come to school here. So if our Minister for Education is demarketing the WAEC that this foreign university has been taking, then we're in trouble. Because you remember, JAMB is only useful in Nigeria. So when this man decides to glorify JAMB and put down WAEC that has application all over the world, if I wanted to go to Stanford and I wanted to go to Harvard, I wanted to go to Watson, or I wanted to go to University of Toronto, I'm going to use my WAEC. I mean, so it's really painful when your Minister for Education now tells the whole world that the reason why people pass that exam is because they cheat. And the JAMB exam that is only applicable in Nigeria and useful in Nigeria, you are saying is the best. It's not a fair thing to say about the performance of our students. Yes, the result is poor, but we must know why the result is poor. It's very unfortunate that we were quick to blame the student and say it's because they were not allowed to cheat. But could there be a problem with the exam itself? Could there be a problem with the curriculum? Could there be a problem with the preparation for the examination? Could there be a problem with the technology? Many things could be wrong.
I mean, CBT, the computer-based test, it's been going on since 2015. And to be fair, I think somehow they may or may not, depending on if you agree, have perfected the processes in terms of the technicality surrounding it. But JAMB has asked that these results be reviewed. They've personally come to say, okay, fine, we have received an unusual level of complaints this year, and we would like to review it. What do you make of that?
JAMB has been interesting because every year when the results of the UTME is released, there is always a review. So, you know, people have said, oh, this is the first time JAMB is reviewing results. No, that's not true. The 3 stages of the JAMB examination process, there's a review of it. So this is what has happened over the years. So JAMB is doing what it has always done. However, JAMB claims today that because they have received a lot of complaints, they are moving the review process faster. So before now, the review will come much later in the year, but they are saying because of these complaints, we're moving it closer. So JAMB has not done anything new. The only thing JAMB has done that is new is that it has moved this closer. But my question is, should JAMB be the only ones reviewing this? Because it is JAMB that people are accusing of making a mistake. It's JAMB system that is shutting people down. It's JAMB system that is causing glitches. It's JAMB system that is disappearing questions. A student told me, a parent told me that there were 10 questions missing in his child's exam, where somebody said there was no diagram in physics, for example. So if that's the organization that has a problem, well, I expect the organization as a world-class organization, and we cannot but say JAMB has improved over the years. Right? So this is not an opportunity to bash JAMB. So, right. But every great organization should have the ability to do self-reflection, which I think what JAMB is doing. But I think beyond this, because of what JAMB agreed to, that for the first time we're seeing a lot of complaints, and therefore I expected the Minister for Education to set up an interdisciplinary panel to review what JAMB did. I know JAMB reviewing his work because, hey, you know the interesting thing, JAMB said they have called the Computer Association of Nigeria, they have called on Vice Chancellor, they have called on the examiners. Interestingly, many of the people JAMB is asking to review this were part of the examination process. Those Vice Chancellors were examiners, those HODs were examiners. So it's like a referee did not do a great game in officiating a FIFA match, and the referee set up.
Before I let you go quickly, Would you say Nigeria is ready for these computer-based exams, seeing that we have all these technical glitches? When people go to vote, it's the same problem. There is no internet, or something is wrong, usually wrong. Now, we have a system that is supposed to judge whether a child is intelligent enough to go to university, and then you're stuck with technical glitches, and then you define that boy or girl's life for a whole year. Are we ready for computer-based exams that would define the future of our young ones?
Yes, I would say so. I would say so because of the fact that any system that can fail, we should have a corrective system. Right. I think one of the problems, one of the things JAM should have done is that immediately people started raising these complaints. I personally sent a tweet to JAM last week, and I said, JAM, people are writing this exam. Before, a couple of years back, when JAM exams are written, the results come out a long time after. Then JAM started to release results in 48 hours. Then, under the same professor, this current CEO, JAM released the result once in 24 hours. So after 72 hours, when the results were now, I sent a message. I said, JAM, you guys have moved from 48 hours to 24 hours. Anybody who writes a CBT exam and the result is not out immediately, there's a likelihood that there's a technical problem or there's human interference. My belief is that the delay that made JAM not to release this result is evident that something was wrong, because one of the beauties of CBT is that you get your instant result. Mm-hmm. And then to talk about, are we ready? Yes, we are ready. Think about how many things we vote on online that works excellently in Nigeria. That's Big right. Brother Africa, Big Brother Nigeria is not online and people win. Yes. Bet Nigeria, all the betting pools are online and people win. So that's not the problem. And again, when you talk about INEC and all issues about IREV and all of that, remember at the last election, it was only the presidential election we did not have immediate upload. Mm-hmm. For the other elections, including the election I held that day, the upload was perfect. So we're ready. And it's not the time to look back, it's time to move forward. Those students are not complaining that they cannot use the CBT. It is that JAM was not responsive enough and quickly to correct the errors as they were going. It's unfortunate JAM waited to the end before they decided to do this. They should have listened to those students as they were coming out of the exam, were saying they were missing questions, they were missing diagrams. That's when JAM should have responded, not wait, release the result. Because for me, it looks like JAM really doesn't want to change. Because these complaints have been coming from the student right from as they left the exam. They have been going on Twitter and saying, we did not see diagram in physics. We did not see 7 questions in English language. That's when JAM should have started to respond, not wait, mark, release result, and now say you want to investigate. What do you want to do at this point?
Right. Well, we reached out to JAM spokesperson, and unfortunately he couldn't join us tonight, but he promised to come on the program as soon as he can. So we would like to hear JAM's perspective on this issue. I know that they're currently reviewing the process, and we're looking forward to that conversation. Professor Yomi Fawayemi, academician, policy analyst, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, tonight returns after this short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Tonight on News Central. I'm Adeshawa Josh. A reminder of our top stories. JAM moves to review results of UTME exams after widespread protests by parents and stakeholders over mass failure. President Tinubu swears in INEC National Commissioners as electoral body proposes 142 amendments. And British Prime Minister vows to take back control of the country's borders as he unveils tougher measures to reduce immigration. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in 2 national commissioners of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The commissioners who were earlier screened and confirmed by the Senate are representing the Northwest and the Southeast geopolitical zones. This amounts to an increase in the number of national commissioners as recommended by the Constitution to 12. While commending the President for the effort, Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, says that the Commission has now been placed in a better position to conduct the 2027 polls.
We reviewed the 2023 general elections on our own. We engaged with the stakeholders. We came up with 142 recommendations. Out of these 142 recommendations, 8 require constitutional or electoral act amendment. And we discussed this with members of the National Assembly. So far, so good. We are happy with our discussions with them, and we are also happy with the speed with which they want to proceed, so that we'll have some necessary amendments done to the Electoral Act ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council has approved several memos in the health, aviation, labor, and other key sectors of the economy. The memos include efforts by the federal government to reduce the cost of drugs nationwide for citizens, the rehabilitation of the Terminal B of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Lagos in a bid to replace obsolete equipment, and an attempt to compel ministries, departments, and agencies of government to collaborate more with the nation's private sector.
Council, upon the approval of the President and Council, has also directed the Bureau for Public Procurement to communicate the new threshold on procurement of goods and services. Second, Council has also taken note of the increased collaboration that government is desirous of doing with the private sector, and in that direction has directed all MDAs, especially the Ministry of Works and others that deal with critical infrastructure, to collaborate more with the private sector in terms of infrastructure development.
In fact, for almost a year and a half, government has been trying different ways to reduce the cost, because we know the Nigerians were hurting because of rising cost of pharmaceuticals. But in line with the presidential initiative to unlock the healthcare value chain and the executive order which Mr. President signed in June 2024, that executive order provided incentives for local manufacturing by taking away tariffs for import of raw materials, so that we can encourage our local manufacturers. Today, Federal Executive Council approved Medipool. It's a group purchasing organization for competitive pricing and to be a supplier of essential medicine and healthcare products across Nigeria.
Council graciously approved our memos. The first one was for the upgrade and rehabilitation of Terminal B at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. And it is awarded for the cost at the cost of 2,442,418,004 naira.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has inaugurated 39 new members into its Board of Trustees, describing the move as a reaffirmation of the party's core values and commitment to unity ahead of future elections. BOT Chairman Adolphus Wabara performed the inauguration at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja, noting that the nominees were drawn from various states and zones based on loyalty, experience, and commitment to the party's vision. Wabara urged the new members to act as a stabilizing force within the party and work to uphold its founding principles. To security matters now, where the Lagos State Police Command has arrested 27 suspects for crimes including murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, cultism, and vandalism within the last 2 weeks. According to the Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin, the achievements include the rescue of a 14-year-old boy kidnapped in Olodiapapa and the arrest of 8 cultists linked to killings around Yabatek. In another incident, 2 armed robbers were arrested with a stolen tricycle and firearm after killing a victim in Ajegunle. Recovered items include 2 firearms, 7 ammunition, 1 vehicle, 1 tricycle. The police also foiled a robbery at Onikon and arrested cable vandals in Ijegun.
We arrested 27 suspects involved in various crimes, including murder, defilements, kidnapping, armed robbery, vandalism, cultism, unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition, and more. From these cases, we recovered a total of 2 firearms, 7 ammunition, 1 vehicle, 1 tricycle, 3 battle axes, 3 cutlasses, charms, and other contraband. On May 1st, 2025, at about 4:50 p.m. Detectives of the command received a report from a complainant who reported that his son, Hassan, aged 14, male, was kidnapped by a group of suspected kidnappers at the Olodi-Apapa area, and the sum of 20 million naira was demanded for his release. Our operatives were immediately deployed to the point of ransom collection somewhere on Wema Bridge, Apapa. The team arrested one of the kidnappers, Musa Shuaibu, aged 25. The team also went to the kidnappers' criminal hideout at a hotel in the Ajegunle area, where the victim was kept. The victim was rescued unhurt.
In Plateau State, local sources say no fewer than 5 traders have been abducted at a market after a group of bandits attacked the Dogonrua community in Basha district of Wase local government area. The bandits reportedly burgled shops and business centers, gotten away food items and medicines. A Shapisambo, youth leader in Wase, says the bandits arrived at the community around 11 a.m. on motorcycles when residents and visitors were transacting businesses, forcing people to flee the market and their homes. The youth leader added that security personnel, including soldiers and vigilantes, have been mobilized to trail the bandits to their hideouts. Former military, on a rather pensive note now, former military administrator of Bayelsa State, Captain Caleb Olubolade, has died. Olubolade was also at separate times Minister of Police Affairs, Special Duties, and Minister of State for FCT. He reportedly slumped on Sunday and died afterwards. According to a statement by his children, he had left the house to play lawn tennis at a nearby facility where the tragic incident happened in Apapa, Lagos. Retired Captain Olubolade celebrated his 70th birthday on November the 30th, 2024. May his soul rest in peace. We'll be back after the short break. To stay with us. Welcome back. The African Union says it would not accept any interference in conflict-ridden Sudan. This comes after paramilitaries fighting the army were accused of receiving weapons from the United Arab Emirates. The war between the regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces since April 2023 has killed tens of thousands, uprooted 13 million, and sent shudders through East Africa and beyond. Just last week, the Sudanese government severed diplomatic relations with the UAE, accusing it of supplying weapons to the RSF. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has introduced sweeping immigration reforms aimed at drastically reducing the number of people coming into the United Kingdom, I beg your pardon. Now, the measures comes as a public pressure intensifies following strong gains by anti-immigration parties in recent local elections. The new policy framework includes a longer residency requirement for settlement and citizenship, rising from 5 to 10 years. Language proficiency rules will also tighten, mandating basic English for all adult dependents. The government's white paper outlines stricter enforcement and broader deportation powers targeting foreign nationals with criminal records. Let's take a closer look at this story with immigration lawyer Emmanuel Yoroko. Thank you so much for joining us. He's joining us from London. What are your thoughts on the UK Prime Minister's announcement of sweeping immigration reforms? And how do you think they will impact individuals, businesses navigating the UK immigration system?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Basically, the announcement today has really caused a lot of furore amongst the migrant community. A lot of people have come to see themselves as being their future being uncertain in the United Kingdom, and they are beginning to think whether they should be, considering moving elsewhere. Why some people find themselves stuck and really unable to move forward. It was already so difficult for migrants not being able to access public funds, to be required, to live in the UK for between 5 to 7 years before they can acquire indefinite leave when they come in as students. But with the recent, the white paper today, it makes complete nonsense of a lot of migrant students coming into the UK with the hope of settling down in the United Kingdom. In terms of the political outlook, you could simply describe it as a reactionary move by the Labour Party, because we are familiar with this kind of behavior coming from the Conservatives, but Labour typically were identified as being a little bit more friendly towards immigrants. But this is quite tough at the moment because of the political climate. A lot of Labour voters are beginning to switch to other parties, especially, I mean, I think most people are familiar with him. Nigel Farage is taking away a lot of votes from the Labour Party. So basically, Labour is trying to react to, I mean, our own Kemi Badenoch. She's been crusading on getting rid of migrants, if I can put it that way, from the UK, or perpetually making them economic slaves. So Labour is trying to, gain ground by being seen as tough on immigration.
Is Labour wrong to take this hardline stance, seeing that Conservatives may be racking in the votes and getting the support of the people? After all, in 2016 and in the other recent elections, immigration was a very, very important vote-swaying issue.
To be candid, immigration has become the scapegoat, for politicians, over time. Really, it's just the pressure on social amenities and lack of what you would describe as, local labor force in certain, aspect of the economic life of the United Kingdom. Take, for instance, the social care industry. You hardly find indigenes, English, Welsh, or Scottish, being carers, employed as carers in the NHS and care homes and the like. The same thing with cleaners, the same thing with security guards. So there are certain sectors that you will never find indigenes, really coming forward to work. Mm-hmm. And some actually just enjoy being on benefit. So with time, you have migrants having to come in to substitute for shortage labor in the country. Also, if you look at the IT sector, I mean, you have a lot of migrants, Nigeria, India, coming in to show up the shortages in terms of skilled labor. So rather than the government facing up to the challenges, they find, immigration as a cheap political target and make people believe that the woes they are experiencing, the shortages in terms of social housing, the problem with the NHS is due to influx of migrants, from abroad, rather than for them to acknowledge that the government is not making provision for improving on social housing. Mm-hmm. A lot of the social housing facility have been sold off, and they are not building new homes at the rate at which, the population is increasing. Again, they are not really encouraging, though they brought up a system where they are getting employers to contribute into a fund where money can be taken to train indigenes. But that is really not happening at a pace that will meet up with the demand in the community. So rather than face up to the economic challenges and finding lasting solutions, immigrants are being blamed, day in, day out. An average man, an average citizen on the street believes that their next door neighbor who doesn't look like them is the reason why they have challenges, why they don't have enough job, why they don't, have enough spaces in the school for their children, and similar things. It's simply a political gimmick to try to continue to get people to vote for them.
Well, analysts are saying that the United Kingdom is still suffering from the implications of Brexit, but we're going to have to wait and see how these new measures that would take effect over the next 4 years on immigration will impact the UK. Before I let you go, I know that you have been involved in certain communities and advocating around these issues. What's next for the people who are likely going to be affected by this?
Well, it's a low-level thing because it's not very popular when you are encouraging people to raise petition against government policies. My initial reaction to this kind of policy papers is that affected migrants should come together and raise petitions and get people to sign it. Parliament will consider this petition alongside considering the white papers when they are drawing out the legislation. I think it's a very fantastic way to try and balance out public policy that impacts on people who don't look as if they fit in. Meanwhile, a lot of the resources, a lot of income, I think from the student IHS for both students and workers was in the range of billions within the last 2 years that came in as income for the United Kingdom. And you can be rest assured, a lot of that money came from Nigeria, even though we're struggling to sustain our own people. So my encouragement and advice to my community is for them to raise petitions to show the impact on them of changes and policies that are inimical, to their thriving in the UK and integrating.
Well, I'm going to have to just leave the conversation there for now, but it's a story we're going to keep our eyes on and our ears down for. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Yorokun, immigration lawyer, for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And it's time for some money talks with Leko. Leko, what do we have?
Of course, I get to tell you about how the Nigerian government is trying to raise funds outside of foreign financial institutions to actually see how to improve infrastructure and, of course, capital in the country. I'll tell you more about that after this break.
All right.
The Debt Management Office has announced the opening of a 7-year, 300 billion naira forward Ijara Sukuk with a rental rate of 19.75% per annum. Patience Oniha, the DMO Director General, made the announcement on Monday during an investor meeting for the federal government of Nigeria's 300 billion naira Series 7 sovereign Sukuk issuance. The offer, which began on May 12 and ends on May 20, aims to finance infrastructure and promote financial inclusion in Nigeria. The minimum subscription is set at 10,000 naira, making it accessible to various investors. Oniha emphasized the stability of Nigeria's public debt and highlighted tax exemptions for qualified investors. At the first African Union Debt Conference in Lomé, Togo, President John Dramani Mahama called for African leaders to support the full implementation of the proposed African Monetary Fund and other regional financial institutions. He emphasized that these measures are essential to reduce reliance on foreign borrowing and alleviate pressure on foreign exchange reserves. Mahama criticized the global financial system as structurally unfair to Africa and highlighted the need for transparent debt management. He proposed a stronger regional cooperation and responsible borrowing tied to specific investments to foster economic growth and sustainability across the continent. And now we look at the Nigerian exchange that actually ended the trading session on a bearish note. Now, the all-share index declined by 0.43% to close at 108,261.47 points, and this pullback suggests a broader sell down in a sentiment across the equities market, leading to a moderate loss in market value. Consequently, the total market capitalization stood at 68.04 trillion naira, reflecting the general slowdown in investor appetite for risk assets, especially in the face of persistent macroeconomic uncertainties. We now round off with sectoral performance, and even as we understand, the banking sector declined by 0.24% right here as a result of mild profit-taking activities, while the insurance sector stood out as the lone gainer, rising 0.29%. And the uptick in this segment suggests selective buying, likely driven by perceived undervaluation of some insurance stocks. Now, you look at the oil and gas sector, 0.63%. and the consumer goods 0.54%, including industrial 0.62%, in a dip for these three, showing some sort of persistent naira weakness in some quarters for industrial sector. We see that decline suggesting heavy weight in the cement and building a material segment that may be facing some selling pressure, and that is why we have this in the reds and only this in the green. And that's it for business news tonight. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
And Udoka is here with the latest in sports news, including the fact that Nigeria's Flying Eagles are going to Egypt. Udoka?
Yeah, of course, playing at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, and now they've qualified for the Under-20 World Cup after defeating Senegal on penalties. I'll give you more details shortly.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil.
Now, the Flying Eagles of Nigeria have advanced to the semi-finals of the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt after beating defending champion Senegal 3-1 on penalties on Monday. Both teams failed to score after 120 minutes of feisty action at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismaila. Now, Nigeria converted their first 3 kicks in the shootout and also have goalkeeper Ebenezer Harcourt to thank as he made 2 saves to advance. The victory also earned Nigeria 7-time winners of the competition of sport in the Under-20 World Cup scheduled for Chile later in the year. Now, the Flying Eagles of Nigeria will get to face South Africa, who defeated DR Congo in the other semi-final on Thursday. Now, Carlo Ancelotti has been confirmed as the new manager of the Brazil's men's national team, the first foreign national to take sole charge of the world's most successful side since 1925. After months of speculation, it has been confirmed that the 65-year-old Italian is to leave Real Madrid at the end of the Spanish domestic season to take up what will be his first international coaching role. The Brazilian Football Confederation revealed the news in a statement on Monday, welcoming Ancelotti, describing him as a legend of the game and expressing excitement about a new era of success under his leadership. Ancelotti will take up his new post on the 26th of May, the day after Madrid played their final league fixture of the season against Real Sociedad. Moving on to the world of golf, the game has been described as a game of life where one can play from childhood to old age. New Central's Chizoba Anyowe in Jos Plateau State reports that Sam Gyang became an active golfer in 1933 and was honored with a tournament at the oldest golf course in Nigeria, the Rayfield Golf Course, as he turned 95 years old. Fellow golfers attribute his unique life to one of the benefits of being a committed golfer.
Golf, like we say, is a game of life. Even the rules of golf reflect how our lives, are governed daily. So you find out that everything about golf helps you to regulate your life. And then, of course, in terms of physical fitness, it's a game that can be played to any age, as you can see, depicted here today. So there's nothing like you get too old and you can't play again. That's something that we should bring to the attention of people, that we still have men that at a certain age where others will have given up, they were still pushing and they were still forging ahead.
We're praying that God Almighty would allow some of us who are young ones to be able to achieve that age that he has achieved. Not only achieving it, he's achieving it in good health. He's achieving it with a lot of strength, as you can see.
I'm playing golf about between 30, when I started, but if I say I'm a caddy, I'm a start 1933, when I started that golf course. I'm a caddy. I feel okay. I feel okay, but I thank God.
Age right there at the age of 95, still playing strong in the game of golf. And that's a wrap on Sports Updates. I am Udoka Njoko. Thank you for watching.
It's time for entertainment news, so we have a package for you. Have a listen.
I'm excited. How are you feeling, Sam?
I mean, I gotta be excited. It's one of Africa's biggest major award ceremony entertainment. So of course I'm looking fresh. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing my brother actually, Style by Flames.
He is proud. I'm wearing Osu, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot of the A-list stars, of course, walk this red carpet looking dapper. You ready for this?
Excited, let's go.
Let's get into it.
All right. Speak to me about being at the 11th edition of the AMBC Award.
I think this shows clearly where the heart of this organization is, celebrating African culture, African talent. For so many years, you know, they have been, you can't write a story about Nollywood and the Nigerian film industry, or even the African film industry, without mentioning African magic. We've always been beautiful, we've always been storytellers, we've always been fashionable. We let the world tell us something else. I think it's time for us to hit back at the world and say, look, this is who we are, and we're standing on 10 toes.
I think that we have grown in leaps and bounds from the time of living in bondage. Now, look at us here. We are doing it in every facet, editing, Foley artists, I mean, best boys, the grips. The whole industry is being improved by our knack for excellence.
What do you think the future is for Nollywood?
Extremely bright. Extremely. Yeah, there's a little bit of problem with being impatient. But hey, it's not just Nigeria, it's not just Africa, it's the Gen Z all around the world.
Now we have movies of budgets like 500 million, 600 million. We have big budget movies, but we're still appealing to the government, the private investors to come in to invest in Nollywood. It's thriving. You would get your money back.
Year in, year out, people show up and show out. Everyone is looking forward to the next AMVCA. You miss this one, you feel like you want to come through for the next one. You dress up for this one, you're already looking forward to dress with or dress in for the next one. So it's just amazing, honestly. And I love the fact that Nigerians are coming out in numbers, so it's just great.
Over the years, I've been here almost every year, and it's always interesting to see just the trajectory of nominees and awardees that win as well. Their careers just shoot up from there.
How long did it take to put this entire look together? It's incredible.
It's been a year plus coming. Yeah, African has come of age. It's a wonderful time for us to tell our beautiful story, and I think I am using fashion as a tool to tell my beautiful story that I'm a woman from the West. I'm bold, I'm intelligent, I'm proud. I've never had the chance to do this, but guess what? People know me because they know who I am. I'm that girl from West Africa.
I want to ask you, Uti, though. How would you rate Nollywood on a scale of 1 to 10?
Right now, easily a 7.5. So imagine when we are at 8 or 9, it's over.
10. Now we've gone far. Like I said 10 because of the improvements, like the sudden improvement. Like now we're doing well.
I would say it's a good 9. The reason why I say so in terms of like the amount of passion I see, because people see the other side, they watch the films, but I see the people who are looking for the capital, looking for the finance, trying to raise the game with script writing, trying to make sure that they're filming with the best possible equipment, the people actually who have the intention. And because of that, I have to mark that really high. The only remaining point is to now bring all of those things together in a sustainable way.
Well, when we got the news that we're nominated for 5 categories, we're like, oh my God. So I think for the whole night, it's very, I feel blessed to be here and appreciative as well. Sometimes, truly, it's not even about who wins what. It's about coming together to promote our industry, to tell our beautiful story, and at the end of the day, putting Africa on the map. That's all that matters.
I think it's just an honor being nominated, because from now on, they're going to refer to them. Even though you don't win, they'll say the nominated, and all that till you do get the accolade.
We got to ask the Gensis, wouldn't you like this outfit?
I don't know.
But how do you feeling it, though?
I feel like an OG.
So. You are an OG.
Yes, I is. Yes, I is.
I got to be honest, we had a blast tonight, but let me start by saying a big congratulations to every winner, and of course the nominees. It's not easy. Of course, Femi Adebayo bagged some awards tonight. Wale Ojo, Mr. Macaroni. It's showing excellence in filmmaking, and honestly, the MVCs did it this year. We're looking forward to next year being bigger, better, with more categories like Best Score, and even more, of course, accolades for digital content creators. Let's get out of here, man.
And that's entertainment news tonight. Let's take a look at some of our top stories. So for tonight, JAM moves to review results of UTME exams after widespread protests by parents and stakeholders over mass failure. President Tinubu swears in INEC National Commissioners as electoral body, proposes 142 amendments. British Prime Minister vows to take back control of the country's borders as he unveils tougher measures to reduce immigration. Please send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number coming up right now on your screen. There you go. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, AVO TV, and on YouTube. We would like to thank you for watching. I'm Adeshewa Josh. I'll see you on Tuesday.